And let's talk about crime and non-crimes with Danny Shaw, who's a Home Affairs commentator and a former advisor to Yvette Cooper, the now Home Secretary. Good morning to you, Danny.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, there's quite a few little stories going around here today. We're, by the way, fascinated about another new offence, a new crime of spiking someone's drink, something which apparently has already been an offence for about 150 years. A bit strange, the government's bringing in new offences that we've already exist. But the Home Office has issued new guidance for common sense, directing whether or not there should be a non-crime hate incident recorded. This comes, though, after Yvette Cooper, your former boss, had actually said she wanted to widen the scope of non-crime hate incidents, and a former Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Lord Bernard Hogan-Howe, he's urging ministers to review the use of them at all in a paper published for the Policy Exchange think tank today. Where are we with non-crime hate incidents?
Well, they're still obviously a thing, aren't they, Julia? But I think the latest coverage, the Allison Pearson episode and the revelation that I think some 13,000 incidents were recorded in the last year, I think is led to a serious rethink at the heart of government. And I think it's absolutely right. What my former boss, Yvette Cooper, is doing is basically calling in the College of Policing, the National Police Chiefs Council, and saying we need some new guidance that is less complicated, less confusing, and really is about common sense. I think what has happened over the past few years, and this isn't just in this area, but it's in other areas of policing as well, is that the police are sort of being out-guidanced. They have so many new rules and regulations that they have to follow that we've got away from trusting the local officer, the police officer, to use their common sense and apply that common sense.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about this common sense idea, because a lot of it is down to police officers using their discretion. And we know, college policing is the body that basically sort of came up with this, really, and has been directing this, despite two former Conservative Home Secretaries saying, can you tone this down, please? I don't understand why Parliament and the government isn't in charge of what people could be recorded for or arrested for. But we see that these in College of Policing and senior police officers have been utterly captured by an ideology where, everyone who criticises Islam is Islamophobe, anyone who talks about women's rights is a transphobe, everyone's a bigot who is on the right, but absolutely have no issue whatsoever with some of the anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian demonstrations, with this outright anti-Semitism. There does seem to be an ideological capture. I don't think that individual police officers, or indeed chief constables, should be allowed to decide what they think and what they don't think is a non-crime hate incident, or indeed a hate crime itself, because I don't think I trust their judgment anymore.
Well, that's partly because we have a very inexperienced police workforce. I mean, we have around a third of the police workforce have been in post for less than 5 years, which means we have a lot of young and inexperienced police officers. But I honestly believe that we've got to get to a situation where police officers are trusted to do their job and use their common sense, and that requires supervision. It requires police sergeants and inspectors to be good supervisors, to be on the case of the young officers, and if they make a mistake and they record something that they shouldn't record, or they don't record something that they should record, they should be told about it and learn the lessons from that. It shouldn't be some big scandal, and we don't need reams and reams of confusing guidance. I saw the code of practice that the previous government introduced on non-crime hate incidents. It was Chris Philp, who's now the Shadow Home Secretary, who steered that through. It is a dog's breakfast, Julia. It's so confusing. I would ask you or any of your listeners or viewers to look at that and try and make head nor tail of it. If they possibly can. It's too much.
Yeah, and also individual police officers basically just say, well, if in doubt, record it anyway. But we do see different police organisations are recording a vastly different number of these incidents. We know Essex Police, who are the ones who turned up on the door of my colleague and good friend Allison Pearson, and basically turned up on the door. They have a massive. They record something like 3 times as many cases of non-crime hate incidents as the Metropolitan Police, who cover the whole swathe of London. So they clearly are a bit obsessed with it. They've got a very sort of woke chief constable who rather alarmingly follows me on Twitter. So obviously I'm going to be actually I'm going to go out of my way not to be careful, just because that's me. But Alison Pearson, it's interesting, she says that she was told it was a non-crime hate incident. then, but was not told what the tweet was that apparently was the offending tweet. That was then leaked to The Guardian. They were then given some, body cam, words to show what had actually been said, and actually it was a hate crime, not a non-crime hate incident. But it's quite bizarre that she wasn't told what it was, but then the papers were. I mean, this is no way to go about policing this country, whether or not an offence had, and it turns out hadn't, been committed at all.
But what I find really worrying is that the police turned up at Allison Pearson's address and said, we want to interview about something, and couldn't tell her what it was that she was going to be interviewed about. I mean, that just seems to me to be completely bizarre.
Yeah.
If police turn up and arrest you for something, you need to know roughly what
otherwise,
it is.
why are they there?
Exactly. Look, that concerned me. The police have now reached the right decision. There's no investigation. They've cancelled the investigation.
But only because she had the front page of the Daily Telegraph and reams, the Free Speech Union and reams of other people and politicians offering support. This happens to 66 people a day on average.
Well, there are a number of incidents that are recorded, and we don't know out of all of those. It may be, Julia, that some of them do need to be recorded because it is shedding a light on some concerning behaviour that isn't criminal, but is actually something that the police need to keep an eye on. That's about intelligence. We would expect, for example, if there was someone loitering in your street, they weren't burgling any houses or stealing any cars, but they were acting suspiciously, you might want the police to kind of log that. And
I don't think they would unless it was a hurty tweet. I really don't think they would. They're barely interested when you've actually been the victim of an actual crime. And that's the thing that people get so frustrated by.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. And one of the most concerning things in all of the past 2 weeks of reporting was the account given by a former colleague of mine, Lucy Manning from the BBC, about how she had been subject to obscene phone calls and had recorded the calls, and it had taken 2 years for that individual to be brought before the courts.
Yeah. And
she had gone to various police forces with the evidence, and basically nothing had happened. That was really alarming because that was an actual crime.
And I know Lucy as well, absolutely lovely woman. I mean, again, and she's sharp-elbowed. I can absolutely assure you, if that happened to me, that would have happened much quicker. But then I'm willing to spread my elbows a bit quicker. Or in the case when I had a stalker, get your dad to deal with it. Sometimes dads are really useful. Completely within the law, I must stress. Anyway, really good to talk to you, Danny Shaw, Home Affairs commentator, former advisor to Yvette Cooper. I wish he was advising her today. If it was this non-crime hate incident thing, it's not going away. All so confusing what happened with Allison Pearson. Was it, wasn't it? Was she confused? Well, she wasn't told what the crime was. But also the fact the body cam information is put out. I mean, They won't tell her what the crime is. I mean, quite bizarre. And this is happening to so many people who don't have the reach that Allison Pearson has to get this overturned.
Yeah, it's happening to thousands of people every year, despite the fact that successive governments have actually said we need to be doing less of this.
So why is the College of Policing allowed to carry on advocating for this?
The College of Policing made up NCHIs in the first place. There was no government law passed that said you should start recording these things. They just started doing it. So the reason you've got this guidance, I accept it's confusing, is because they've made something up and politicians lacked, I'm afraid, the gumption to just say, no, don't do it at all.
But the College of Policing needs closing down. It is a completely ideologically captured organisation now. You cannot get ahead in policing unless you rainbow lanyard yourself to the hilt.
It is the absolute crucible of woke mindlessness within policing, which has left everybody that I know. I literally don't know anybody that believes that the police will come and investigate them if they suffer a basic crime, theft, burglary,
although
anything.
very excitingly, my bag theft has actually finally been gone to the CPS. To wait for them to make a decision. Good luck with making the right decision, CPS, because there's only one right decision. I gave you the CCTV of him actually stealing my bag. I'm pretty sure it's a solid slam dunk case. Going out there on a limb, but there we are. We shall wait and see.